All right, so what are we going to do next? Well, we do have the snow to mask. Here is the snow busting out of the picture frame. Doesn't really look like it's coming out of the picture frame yet, but we are going to achieve that effect in just a moment here. So, all right, I'm going to make that snow border only layer invisible. And the picture frame layer, we could probably leave that the way it is now, no big deal there. And so, but make sure that the snowboard cropped layer is selected. And what I think I'll do is just hold down Control, Command on the Mac, click on the snowboard cropped layer and load its transparency, and then just click on Edit, Copy Merged. Then what I want you to do is go over to the Channels palette. If you don't see it, Window Channels is right here. Over here on the Channels palette, let's make a new channel by clicking on the New Channel button right here at the very bottom. There you go. You should see the screen go black, and then just come over here to Edit and over here to Paste, and you'll paste this image into a channel. Great. Now we no longer need this selected, so I'm just going to come up here to Select and deselect that. Now what we must do is isolate the snow from the background. We can see that the snow is pretty bright compared to the sky in the background. It looks impossible, but it's not. Let me show you a little cool technique. Let's go over here to Image, Adjustments, and select Levels. And with the levels, what we can do is control the tones in this channel. It's very cool stuff. Now if I move this white slider over to the left, you can see that the snow gets brighter. And if I move the black one over to the right, you can see some of the midtones start to get darker and darker and darker. And that's what we want. Now, for this tutorial, other out-of-bounds images or other out-of-bounds projects will probably be a lot different. But for this tutorial, when you're looking at the snow, make sure that you don't overexpose the snow, because that's just going to ruin the effect. You don't want that. So make sure that it doesn't look like this. Okay? Better yet, you may even just be able to leave this white slider here in the channels or in the levels. You might even be able to just leave that the way it is now and not even touch it at all. So I'll just leave that way down here, but I will come over and adjust the black slider to make that background disappear. Almost make the snowboarder there, the guy there, go away. But I'll adjust the gray slider here so we can adjust the midtones. Looking really good. And I'll even go just a little bit more. And the more I move that black slider to the right, you can see it just makes the mid-tone areas start to go away. They keep getting darker and darker and darker. And that is how we can isolate the snow. Isn't that cool? So that looks really good. Let's go ahead and click OK. We can always come back and retouch later on. No big deal. Okay. Look at what we have here. This is totally posh. It's looking great. In order to get the snow on the photo completely isolated from the background, this is what you're going to do. Hold down the Control key, which is the Command key on the Mac. Hold that down right now. Click on the Alpha 1 channel that we've created, and look what happens. You will load the snow that's on that channel. You will load it almost looks like you're loading its transparency, but what you're really doing is you're selecting the brightest areas, and it will look at the image and select most of the defined areas. It's also selecting a lot more than we can see right now. And that's just the way it is. And a lot of people just starting with Photoshop don't know that. But it looks like it's just selecting the area right here, but it's selecting a lot more. And that's going to help us out tremendously. So after you've selected, or after you've held down the Control key and clicked on that channel, it should look like this. Okay, now let's go back to RGB mode. So click on RGB, go back to Layers, and let's look at what we have here. Okay, let's go ahead and down here to Snowboard Cropped, just make that invisible. Then you can make the Snowboarder Only layer visible. So now we see the snowboarder and we see the selected snow from the channel Well, we need to get that snow on its own separate layer, and what we can do is just make a new layer between the snow border only layer and the snow border cropped layer. So what I'll do is just go ahead, activate the snowboard cropped layer, and make a new layer below that, and simple enough, we'll just call it snow. There we go. Now, let's go over here to Edit, Fill, and for Contents, let's select White, and click OK. Look at that. This almost looks perfect. Let's go up here to Select and Deselect so we can see our work. Now to see what the out of bounds effect looks like, all we have to do is mask the background here just into the shape that we've created on the picture frame layer. Well, this is really easy to do. Let's click on the picture frame layer, turn the opacity all the way up to 100%, and now let's hold down the Control key and click on the picture frame layer. Then over here on the snowboard layer, let's click on the Add Layer Mask button. Boom. Ooh, it doesn't look like much happened, but look at this. If I go over to the picture frame layer and make that invisible, look what happens. So this is where we're getting very close to the actual final effect that we're trying to achieve here.